Today we're embarking on a journey throughout the terrifying and fascinating world of alien video games. From the pixelated corridors of the 1980s to the cutting-edge horror of modern titles, we're breaking down every game that has brought the xenomorphs to life. It all started in 1979 with Ridley Scott's sci-fi horror masterpiece Alien. This film didn't just introduce us to one of the most terrifying creatures in cinema history, it also set the stage for an entire franchise that would span decades, with there being a number of sequels, spin-offs, and of course, video games. The Alien movies are known for their intense atmosphere, groundbreaking effects, and the unique blend of science fiction and horror. From the claustrophobic horror of the first Alien film to the action-packed thriller of Aliens, the Alien movies have left their mark on culture today, with a new Alien film being released just a couple of weeks ago. But the influence of these Alien films didn't stop at the cinema screen. In the early 80s, the xenomorphs invaded the world of video games. These early titles were simple, but they captured the essence of the films. The relentless hunt, the feeling of isolation, and the sheer terror of facing an unstoppable enemy. As technology evolved, so did the games. Titles like Alien Isolation brought us closer than ever before to the heart-pounding suspense of the original film. In this video today, we will be exploring the history of these Alien games and how they captured the spirits of the films. We will look at the highs and the lows of the series, and look at what makes these games stand out in the world of survival horror. So remember, in space, no one can hear you scream. The first period that we're going to focus on is the early 1980s, a time where video games were just beginning to capture the imagination of the world. In 1979, Ridley Scott's Alien was released, redefining sci-fi horror on the big screen, and it wasn't long before game developers sought to bring the same chilling experience to the players at home. But creating an experience as intense as Alien was a daunting task for any developer, especially when the technology at the time was extremely limited. The first official Alien game, released in 1982 for the Atari 2600, was developed by Fox Video Games, a division of 20th Century Fox. At the time, most video games were simple, and developers had to work within the severe constraints of the hardware. Due to this, the Alien game ended up being very similar to that of Pac-Man, a format that was easy to copy and implement given the severe limitations they were working with at the time. Fox Video Games really wanted to capitalise on the popularity of Pac-Man, one of the biggest arcade hits at the time and a game that is still played by quite a few people today. But instead of ghosts, you were being chased by xenomorphs. The goal was to create something familiar to gamers, but with an alien twist. While it lacked that horror element that many developers wanted to recreate, the game was an early attempt to bring the franchise into the gaming world. Given the Atari 2600's limited colour palette and processing power, the developers focused on gameplay simplicity. They did, however, try to incorporate elements of the film by including flamethrowers and allowing players to temporarily fend off the xenomorphs. Despite its simplicity, the game managed to capture the basic concept of being hunted in a confined space, an idea that would evolve in future titles. In 1984, Fox Video Games upped the ante with Alien for the Commodore 64. This game was developed by the British company Concept Software and was a significant leap forwards in terms of complexity and atmosphere. Unlike the Atari 2600 version, this game was designed to capture the tension and fear of the movie. The developers at Concept Software wanted to push the boundaries of what video games could do at the time. They aimed to create a game that was more than just an action experience. It was about strategy, survival, and most importantly, psychological horror. The team drew inspiration from text-based adventure games and the emerging survival horror genre. The game's design emphasised non-linear gameplay, where the player had to manage the ship's crew, resources, and track the aliens' movements throughout the Nostromo. Each crew member had their own skills and weaknesses, and losing a crew member made survival even more difficult. This was one of the first games to incorporate permanent death, adding to the tension. The aliens' behaviour was randomised, just like we'll see from future titles, making each playthrough unpredictable and heighten the sense of dread. The developers used the limited graphics at the time to their advantage, focusing on creating a foreboding atmosphere with simple yet effective sound design. The game was ahead of its time, offering a complex experience that foreshadowed the survival horror genre that would flourish in the years to come. We now head forward in time to the 1990s, where video games were rapidly evolving. The Alien franchise began to spread across multiple genres and platforms, offering players new and innovative ways to experience the fear and excitement of the movies. The development teams behind these games had to balance the growing expectations of gamers with the challenges of new technology. In 1992, Alien 3 was released on a variety of platforms, including the Sega Genesis. Development of these games was handled by several studios, including Probe Software for the Sega and Nintendo versions, and Acclaim for the Game Boy. Each version had its unique challenges, particularly when it came to interpreting the film's dark and moody atmosphere into an action-packed game. Turning that dark and depressing psychological horror of Alien 3 into a fast-paced shooter was no easy task. The developers knew they couldn't directly translate the film's narrative into gameplay, so they focused on the elements that would appeal most to gamers: action and combat. The result was a game that, while not entirely faithful to the film, captured the intensity and danger of battling xenomorphs. Probe Software, the developers behind the Sega Genesis version, had to work within the constraints of 16-bit hardware. They prioritised creating detailed sprites for Ripley and the xenomorphs, as well as designing levels that were very labyrinth-like and filled with threat. The result was a game that was visually impressive for its time, with challenging gameplay that required both quick reflexes and strategical thinking. Despite the difference between the various versions, all of them shared a common feature: they were incredibly difficult. This was a deliberate choice by the developers, who wanted to capture the hopelessness and desperation of Ripley's situation in the film. While the difficulty level was different among players, it became a hallmark of the game. In 1994, Capcom released Alien vs Predator in arcades, and it quickly became a hit. The development team was led by Yoshiki Okamoto, a veteran designer known for his work on Street Fighter II. Capcom's experience in the beat-em-up genre, developed through games like Final Fight, made them the perfect choice to bring the Alien and Predator franchise together in a fast-paced, action-packed format. The idea of pitting aliens against predators in a beat-em-up format was a stroke of genius. The development team focused on making the combat feel visceral and satisfying, adding fluid animations, responsive controls, and a variety of moves that allowed the player to combo their way through waves of enemies. The game also featured multiple playable characters, each with unique abilities, adding to its replay value. Capcom's designers worked closely with Fox to ensure the game stayed true to the source material. They carefully studied the films to create character models and environments that were faithful to the franchises. The result was a game that not only satisfied fans of both Alien and Predator, but also stood out as one of the best beat-em-ups of its era. Later that same year, another Alien vs Predator game was released, this time for the Atari Jaguar. Developed by Rebellion Developments, this first-person shooter was a groundbreaking title for its time. The Jaguar, though a commercial failure, was one of the first consoles capable of delivering a true 3D gaming experience, and Alien vs Predator would be the flagship title. The development of Alien vs Predator was a massive undertaking. Rebellion was a relatively small studio at the time, but they were given a significant level of creative freedom by Atari, something that we don't see as much of today. The team wanted to create a game that captured the essence of the movies, but also offered something new to players. Rebellion's approach was therefore very ambitious. They allow players to choose from 3 distinct characters: a Marine, a Predator, or an Alien, each with their own unique gameplay mechanics, weapons, and storylines. The choice dramatically altered the way the game was played, as the Marine players experienced a tense survival horror game with limited resources and constant dangers. As you can probably guess, with the Predator, the gameplay was more focused on stealth, all while using advanced technology to hunt your enemies, while playing as the Alien offered a fast-paced, melee-focused experience where speed and agility were key. The game's non-linear level design, along with the 3 playable characters, made it one of the most innovative titles of its time. However, developing a game for the Jaguar was no easy task. The console's architecture was notoriously difficult to work with, which led to numerous technical challenges. Despite this, Rebellion managed to deliver a game that is still fondly remembered today as one of the best Alien games ever made. The development process involved pushing the Jaguar to its limits. The team faced significant challenges in optimizing the game's 3D engine, which led to eventual compromises in both frame rates and graphic fidelity. However, they compensated by focusing on the atmospheric design, using dark corridors and eerie sound effects, all of which would help highlight the feeling of isolation that captured the very spirit of the Alien franchise. We now jump forward to the 2000s, where the Alien franchise continued to evolve. With advancements in technology, the potential was there to create more immersive and terrifying experiences. As gaming platforms became more powerful, developers could push the boundaries of what was possible, both in terms of graphics and gameplay. In 2000, Alien Resurrection was released for the PlayStation, a game that went through a notoriously difficult development cycle. Originally planned as a third-person survival horror game to coincide with the 1997 film, the project was delayed multiple times and underwent significant changes before it was finally released as a first-person shooter. Interestingly enough as well, Alien Resurrection was one of the first games I ever played on the PlayStation 1. The development of Alien Resurrection was plagued with issues. Argonaut Games, who were the developers, struggled with technical limitations, which resulted in having to change the design goals, and they were pressured by Fox to meet certain deadlines. The decision to switch from third person to first person was made late in development, requiring the team to rework many aspects of the game. This resulted in a product that, while innovative, just felt disjointed in places. Despite these challenges, Alien Resurrection was ahead of its time in several ways. It featured a dual analog control scheme that would become standard in future first-person shooters. The game also focused heavily on creating a tense atmosphere with dimly lit environments, limited ammunition, and deadly xenomorphs that stalked the player throughout the game's claustrophobic corridors. While Alien Resurrection didn't achieve commercial success, largely due to its late release on a console nearing the end of its prime, it has since gained a cult following for its ambitious design and eerie atmosphere. It's a prime example of how development challenges can lead to both innovation and compromise. Following the success of the first Alien vs Predator game, Monolith Productions developed Alien vs Predator 2, that was released in 2001. The game built on the foundations laid by its predecessor, but with significant improvements in both gameplay and narrative design. Monolith Productions had a clear vision for Alien vs Predator 2. They wanted to deliver a more polished and cinematic experience. They expanded the storytelling aspects, giving the Marine Predator and Alien their own distinct campaigns that intersected with one another. This narrative structure added depth to the game, making each campaign feel like a piece of a large puzzle. Technically, the game utilised the LithTech engine, which allowed for more detailed environments and better character developments compared to the first game. The developers also focused on improving AI behaviour, particularly for the xenomorphs, making them more unpredictable and deadly. This, combined with the game's atmospheric level design, resulted in a truly immersive experience that captured the horror and intensity of the Alien universe. The development team paid close attention to the source material, incorporating elements from both Alien and Predator franchises. They even included Easter eggs and references that hardcore fans would appreciate. Alien vs Predator 2 was a critical success, praised for its tight gameplay, engaging story, and the way it respected the lore of both franchises. Released in February 2010, Aliens vs Predator was developed by Rebellion Developments and published by Sega. This game was a revival of the franchise. With this new installment, Rebellion aimed to bring the intensity of the Alien and Predator films to a modern audience. Rebellion's goal was ambitious, to deliver a game that honed the rich lore of both franchises, while providing distinct gameplay experiences for each species. They focused on creating a balanced multiplayer experience and engaging single-player campaigns that each offered a different perspective. Development of the game was driven by Rebellion's deep familiarity with the franchise. They had previously worked on the Aliens vs Predator game for the Atari Jaguar and wanted to leverage that experience to create a more redefined and modern experience. The team closely analysed the film's aesthetics, working to capture the atmosphere and tension of the Alien universe. The game featured 3 distinct campaigns, one for the Colonial Marines, one for the Predators and one for the Aliens. Each campaign offered a unique experience, reflecting different playstyles of the previous species. The Colonial Marines campaign was designed to be more of a traditional first-person shooter experience, emphasising weapon management, stealth and survival horror. The Predator campaign allowed the player to have access to a range of advanced weaponry and technology, including the iconic shoulder cannon and the cloaking device. The gameplay was focused on stealth, allowing players to ambush enemies from the shadows and use the Predator's superior technology to their advantage. The Alien campaign allowed the player to use speed, agility, and the ability to crawl through vents to outmaneuver the enemy. The gameplay emphasised melee combat and surprise attacks, while the objective of using the alien's natural abilities to eliminate all threats. Each campaign had its own strengths and weaknesses. The Predator's campaign was praised for its stealth mechanics and unique gameplay, while the Alien campaign offered a visceral and fast-paced experience. However, the Marines campaign received mixed reviews due to its repetitive mission structure and technical issues. Upon its release, the game received mixed reviews. Critics praised the variety and atmosphere but noted several issues, such as repetitive gameplay, technical problems and imbalanced multiplayer. Despite these flaws, the game was appreciated for its attempts to deliver a comprehensive experience of the Alien and Predator universes, and it's my personal point of view that this game was a lot of fun. While not a perfect game to critics and most fans alike, Alien vs Predator succeeded in reigniting interest in the franchise and provided a solid foundation for future titles. The game was a bold attempt to blend the different gameplay types of the Alien and Predator series, and due to this, it is a noteworthy entry in the franchise as a whole. Alien Colonial Marines was released in February 2013 and was developed by Gearbox Software and published by Sega. The game was highly anticipated, and it was marketed as a direct sequel to the classic film Aliens. Unfortunately, it was met with a largely negative reception upon release. Gearbox Software, for all their hard work on the Borderlands and Duke Nukem Forever, had a high profile leading up to the series of Colonial Marines. The game was meant to be a love letter to the Alien films, featuring familiar faces, locations and themes. However, its development was troubled from the start. Development of Colonial Marines faced numerous challenges. The game underwent several changes in direction and suffered from delays. Gearbox Software initially worked on the game with the goal of delivering a faithful and immersive experience. However, as development progressed, the game was marred by issues relating to engine performance, AI behaviour and overall polish. The game featured a campaign that took place in the aftermath of the events of Aliens. The narrative was meant to expand on the story of the film, but it ultimately failed to deliver a coherent and engaging storyline. Critics and players alike were disappointed by the final product. The game was criticised for its poor graphics, inconsistent AI and lacklustre gameplay. Many felt the game did not live up to its potential or the expectations set by its promotional material. The marketing had promised a game that would capture the essence of the Aliens films, but the final product fell short in many areas. Despite its shortcomings, Colonial Marines did have some redeeming qualities. It offered cooperative multiplayer modes and some enjoyable moments of nostalgia for fans of the Aliens franchise. However, it is often remembered about the challenges of delivering on high expectations. Gearbox Software released several patches to address some of the game's issues, but these updates could not fully rectify the problems. Aliens Colonial Marines remains a divisive entry in the franchise, serving as a reminder of the difficulties inherent in adapting beloved franchises into video games.
I don't know if you can hear me, but I made it across. It's really bad here, Verlaine. I think there's something here.
Released in October 2014, Alien Isolation was developed by Creative Assembly and published by Sega. This game was a significant departure from the action-orientated titles that previously defined the Alien franchise. Instead, Alien Isolation focused on delivering a pure survival horror experience. Creative Assembly's approach to Alien Isolation was a bold one. They set out to create a game that was faithful to the original 1979 film, capturing the tension, atmosphere and sense of dread that made Alien a classic. The development team conducted extensive research into the film's design and utilised advanced technology to bring their vision to life. Development began with a focus on authenticity. Creative Assembly studied Ridley Scott's original film extensively, recreating the Nostromo's environments with incredible attention to detail. They used old school techniques such as practical effects and minimal HUD elements to enhance the immersive experience. The game centres around Amanda Ripley, Ellen Ripley's daughter, who is searching for answers about her mother's disappearance. Set 15 years after the events of Alien, Amanda's story unfolds aboard the Sevastopol Station, a space station plagued by a relentless xenomorph. Alien Isolation was praised for its tense atmosphere, detailed environments, and innovative AI. The xenomorph in the game is not controlled by a fixed script, but reacts to the player's actions, making each encounter unique and terrifying. The developers used advanced algorithms to ensure that the xenomorph's behaviour was unpredictable, enhancing the game's horror elements. The game's use of stealth and resource management was a stark contrast to the action-heavy gameplay of previous Alien titles. Players had to rely on stealth, crafting, and strategy to survive. The lack of combat options and reliance on evasion contributed to the game's intense atmosphere. Critics and players lauded Isolation for its atmospheric tension and adherence to the Alien film style. It was considered a return to form for the franchise, successfully capturing the essence of survival horror and providing an experience that felt both fresh and nostalgic. Overall, Alien Isolation was a critical success, and it is often cited as one of the best survival horror games of all time. Its impact on the genre and the Alien franchise has been profound, proving that there's still a demand for atmospheric, story-driven horror experiences.
Sergeant Leo Alvarez of the CM Leth Recon Squad. Our mission was to enter the Tantalus base, locate the ComSat relay, and bring it back online. We found the relay, but there was a problem.
Get that door closed now, Private. Close that gate. Nothing gets in here. Ray didn't make it.
Releases of one piece.
Willis, take the lead.
Oh, this ain't good.
What we found was a new kind of evil, and it found us first.
What the?
This wasn't human.
Retreat! Retreat! Willis! Open fire! Go, go, go! Alvarez! Through that door! Hold that door, Sergeant! Son of a...
I don't know what I saw in there. But I know when I close my eyes, I still see it. Now everyone's dead. And someone needs to know.
Alien Dark Descent was released in August 2024. Developed by Tinderloss Interactive and published by Focus Entertainment, this game represents a new direction for the franchise, blending real-time strategy with survival horror elements. With Alien Dark Descent, the developers aim to combine the strategic elements of real-time tactics with the intense atmosphere of the Alien universe. This hybrid approach was designed to provide a fresh experience while staying true to the franchise's roots. Development of Dark Descent began with the goal of creating a game that would challenge players both strategically and emotionally. Tinderloss Interactive focused on integrating the horror elements with tactical gameplay, offering players the chance to manage resources, build defences, and make strategic decisions while contending with the ever-present threat of xenomorphs. In Alien Isolation, players take command of a squad of Colonial Marines, tasked with surviving and investigating on a remote, hostile planet. The game combines real-time strategy elements with survival horror, requiring players to plan their movements, allocate resources, and deal with unexpected threats. The game's real-time strategy mechanics add a new layer of depth to the Alien franchise. Players must balance exploration, resource management, and combat, all while dealing with constant threat of xenomorphs. The AI-controlled enemies are designed to be highly unpredictable, ensuring that no two encounters are the same. The game has been noted for its atmospheric design and the way it combines strategic planning with terrifying unpredictability of the xenomorphs. with praise for its innovative gameplay and effective integration of horror elements. The blend of a real-time strategy and survival horror have been well received, offering a unique experience that stands apart from previous Alien games. The game's atmospheric and strategic depth have been highlighted as key strengths, while its innovative approach and fresh take on the Alien formula, Alien Dark Descent has set a new standard for the series. It demonstrates that the Alien franchise continues to evolve and adapt, delivering new and exciting experiences for fans, making it a worthy addition to the franchise. Whether through groundbreaking technology, innovative gameplay, or sheer atmospheric horror, these games have pushed the boundaries of what it means to be scared in a video game. They've taken us into the depths of space where no one can hear you scream, and they've made us face our deepest fears, alone in the dark with the xenomorph lurking just around the corner. So which Alien game is your favourite? I apologise in advance if I missed any games that you really loved. Let me know in the comments section below, and if you enjoyed this video, please let me know what you would like to see in the future. Thank you so much for watching,